Windows 7 has an innovative new taskbar, and in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how to leverage taskbar icon overlays. First, what exactly is an icon overlay? Well, let's jump into this application that I've already created. It's a simple email client, and it's got a pretty basic user interface. I'm going to switch to the XAML view, and with Windows 7 and WPF4, we have access to a new property of the Windows element called Taskbar Item Info. So I'll add the simplest XAML possible to add an overlay. So I'm setting the overlay property of Taskbar Item Info simply to the location of an image that I've got in my project. And now we'll go ahead and test the application. Now down in the taskbar, if you look, you'll notice that a green circle appears. That's the image, and that is what the overlay is. But so what? What do you use overlays for? Well, you've probably noticed that after you've used Vista or XP for a while, your system tray tends to get packed full of icons, most of which you probably don't need to see most of the time. So in Windows 7, system tray icons are hidden by default. As an application developer, you're encouraged to use overlays as an alternative to the system tray. Essentially, it's a way of keeping notifications right with the application icon that they belong to. Let's get back to the application. So far, we've just put a green circle over our application's icon, but this doesn't really tell the user anything. I'd like to point out that I've already added some drawing image resources to app.xaml, and these represent two separate images. So now I'll switch to the main code behind file, and I'll uncomment a line of code called setup connection overlay. So this method simply checks whether we have a network connection available and then sets the overlay icon accordingly. I should point out that because the network availability changed event fires on a separate thread, I'm using dispatcher.invoke to actually make the change to the overlay property. As you could probably guess, the taskbar item info belongs to the UI thread, so this is going to make sure I don't have any invalid cross-threading exceptions. So let's try out the application. Now I've currently got a network connection, so the icon is green, but watch as I disable my network connection and automatically the icon turns red, indicating that I've lost the connection. I can re-enable the connection. Icon turns green, and what we've got now is a really useful little indicator. But we can do more. This is an email application, so maybe instead of connectivity, I want to show the user how many emails are in his or her inbox. So back in the code, I'm going to comment out the setup connection overlay method, and then I'm going to jump to where we check for new mail and delete mail items. And in both cases, I'm going to uncomment these identical lines of code that set the taskbar item info overlay to something that comes from the get message count overlay method. Now notice that here we're actually creating a drawing visual in code, which contains a partially transparent rectangle and text indicating the current message count. What this shows is that whether I'm getting an image from disk or constructing an image in memory, I can assign it as an overlay. Okay, so now let's run the application one more time. Now as you can see, it fires up and the icon overlay indicates that we have 8 messages in our inbox. So I'll go up to the app itself, select a few items, and delete them. And now the overlay updates to show that I now have 5 messages. So now I've given the user some really useful info thanks to the new Windows 7 icon overlay feature.